The Occoquan Radio Podcast is a private production and is not affiliated with the town of Occoquan. Opinions expressed on the podcast are solely those of its host and guests. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the May 25th, 2025 episode of the Occoquan Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Ernie Porta, bringing you 10 to 15 minutes every week of irregular, unscheduled updates on things Occoquan and beyond. We don't have a history or rumor mill shredder segment this episode, since we've got a lot to cover with the most recent town council meeting, some other recent activities in town, and upcoming events. Make sure you don't miss an episode by searching for us on the podcasting app of your choice and hitting the subscribe button. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode of the Occoquan Radio Podcast. Let me start most importantly by noting that we're celebrating Memorial Day. This is a day of reflection, remembrance, and gratitude to honor and remember those who have given the last full measure of devotion while serving in our military. We honor them and pledge never to forget their sacrifice. In town business, at its meeting on Tuesday, May 20th, the Occoquan Town Council held a public hearing on the proposed tax rates for FY 2026, which begins July 1, 2025. After the conclusion of the public hearing, the Council proceeded to adopt the budget and tax rates for the coming fiscal year. The tax rates remain unchanged from fiscal year 2025 and were set as follows. For real estate, a rate of 11.6 cents per $100 of assessed value, a meals tax rate of 3.5%, and a transient occupancy, i.e. hotel tax rate, of 7%. The town also joined most other jurisdictions in approving a cigarette tax of 40 cents per pack, or 2 cents per cigarette sold. The adopted town budget actually consists of 5 separate components. The largest, the general fund, has budgeted expenses of approximately $1.5 million. The events fund budget includes almost $246,000 in expenses. The second largest fund, the Capital Improvement Fund, has an adopted budget of almost $1.3 million. The remaining 2 funds are quite small and are required by law. One, the Mamie Davis Fund, is essentially a restricted endowment the town received many years ago, whose principal cannot be touched and whose modest interest is restricted to the maintenance of Mamie Davis Park and Town Hall. The other, and the last of the 5, is the E. Summons Fund, whose revenues and expenses are specifically restricted by state code and whose expenses for fiscal year 2026 are budgeted at a little less than $12,000. More information on the adopted tax rates and budget is available on the town website at www.occoquanva.gov. Also at its meeting on May 20th, the Town Council reviewed the annual report of the Planning Commission, which was the culmination of a significant amount of analysis and discussion by the Planning Commission's members over a period of more than a year. It included recommendations regarding leveraging the natural resources of the town through a Trail Town program, increasing walkability, accessibility, and connectivity through a variety of initiatives related to parking and transportation, protecting the ecological and public health of the town through various sustainability improvements, nurturing the town's identity through actions related to placemaking, beautification, and public art, and lastly, fostering economic development and economic diversification through a series of recommendations related to town business support and recruitment. Although the council decided to table a handful of specific recommendations indefinitely as not feasible at this time, the vast majority were approved and assigned either to the Planning Commission or to the town staff and council for implementation at the appropriate time. The Planning Commission report represented a substantial personal and professional effort on the part of its members, for which the council expressed its gratitude and appreciation. Last Friday was a noticeably busy day in town. First, I want to take a moment to congratulate Leaf and Petal, who moved from their location on Union Street to 204 Washington Street. As many of you know, this is the building that was once Ogle Harris's store, which operated from early in the 20th century until 1974. A tea and remedy shop, Leaf and Petal has reimagined the space beautifully, blending the historic and the modern with an apothecary feel that includes both indoor and outdoor seating. We held a grand reopening ribbon cutting on Friday morning, and I urge you all to stop by when you have a moment. We appreciate Leaf and Petal for continuing to have faith in Occoquan as a place for their business. Less positive on Friday were some traffic snarls and power outages caused by downed trees and an electrical transformer problem in Fairfax. As some of you no doubt experienced, power went out in town at approximately 5:30 p.m. This was a result of an electrical transformer problem in Fairfax. The power outage caused the main street light at Route 123 and Commerce Street to malfunction. Additionally, at roughly the same time, a large tree along Tanyard Hill Road fell, knocking down several other trees and utility lines across the street, blocking the road. The closed road and the malfunctioning traffic light obviously led to a rather crowded evening rush hour in town. Town police, quite promptly after the trees fell, put up road closure notices on Google Maps and Waze, but it was obviously some time before traffic could be cleared. Dominion Virginia Power resolved the transformer problem and restored electricity within a few hours. Whenever a tree falls on Tanyard Hill Road, it often raises questions about the extent to which preemptive clearing of trees should be done. There are, of course, a number of challenges to such an approach. As a practical matter, much of the road is outside of town boundaries. Additionally, many of the relevant trees are recessed from the road on private property and outside of VDOT easements. Provided any necessary permissions could be obtained, however, perhaps the most significant difficulty is that the existing trees are largely what prevent the banks of the road cut from continually eroding into the road itself. This, unfortunately, is the nature and continuing challenge of preserving and using old historic byways like Tanyard Hill Road. Much like living along the banks of a beautiful river that occasionally floods, we're often forced to accept some of the periodic disadvantages that come with the consistent benefits. As I mentioned at the start, we had a lot to cover this week, so there is no Occoquan history or rumor mill shredder segment this episode. And so now we'll get right into upcoming events. Once again, let me start by noting that tickets are on sale for the 17th annual Duck Splash race, which will take place on Sunday, June 8th, during the town's Riverfest and Craft Show. For $5, you can adopt a numbered rubber duck and watch on June 8th as hundreds of such ducks are dropped from the Route 123 bridge and raced to a predetermined finish line. First place receives $500, second through fifth places receive $100, and 6th through 10th places receive $20 each. You do not need to be present to win, and we keep pulling ducks out of the river until all prizes are awarded. For more information and to adopt a duck, go to www.occoquanfestivals.com/ducksplash. On Saturday, May 31st, Leaf and Moss, located at 312 Commerce Street, will be holding a spring community plant swap from noon to 1 p.m., providing the perfect venue to diversify your greenery and share your love of flora with fellow plant lovers in the community. Then, on Sunday, June 1, Madigan's Waterfront Restaurant will be holding a brunch at 11 a.m. with Ariel, Cinderella, and Belle. You and your child will get to enjoy a delicious brunch, live performances, craft time, interactive games, dancing, and photo opportunities. For an activity outside of town, but relevant to the town, Prince William County will be holding a countywide trails planning charrette on Thursday, May 29th at 7 p.m. at the Prince William County Public Schools Edward L. Kelly Leadership Center, which is located at 14715 Bristow Road, Manassas, Virginia, 20112. Do you hike, ride, or paddle in Prince William County? Join the Department of Parks and Recreation for a planning charrette on the future of trails and blueways in the county. This interactive meeting will be the first opportunity to voice your opinions on what connections the county should prioritize in the update to the countywide Trails Master Plan. For more information on activities in Occoquan, go to www.visitoccoquanva.com/events. Again, that's www.visitoccoquanva.com/events. That brings us to the end of this episode of the Occoquan Radio Podcast. Next week, our episode is scheduled to include an interview with local author Henry Brinton. Make sure you don't miss an episode by searching for us on the podcasting app of your choice and hitting the subscribe button. I'm your host, Ernie Porta. Thank you for listening.